The Grand Island Community Foundation has as its mission connecting people who care with causes that matter. And in so many ways, in retrospect, that was how Denzel led his life.
Every single person has an amazing story.
When I retired, I started looking for volunteer opportunities. A couple months later, I happened to read Denzel's obituary. He had been a tutor for, I believe his name is Dennis DeLeon, and that relationship had evolved to where Dennis was listed as an adopted son in the obituary.
So, we have a special connection since the very beginning. By the second time we met, he already told me that he felt like I was his son,
It kind of got me thinking that, it's probably more than just tutoring, and it's more about a relationship.
And when he told me that, I felt like, wow, I really love him, and he cares for me.
I started tutoring an individual from Ethiopia. One of his goals was to become a U.S. citizen, so that was our first objective. We started working on civics, and he passed that test. And then in August, we drove back to Omaha, where he was officially sworn in as a U.S. citizen. So that was pretty special, being part of that. Well, would I have taken that step and volunteered? I don't know. That article that I saved was, probably 2 months old, and it was buried. So a good chance that I probably wouldn't have.
A couple months ago, I've been asked to teach English at the Legacy Council, and I thought that was crazy. When Kurt, the director, asked me about it, I told him, I think you were crazy. And he said, why? Why not? I just walk away, and you're not gonna believe this. And the moment I walk away, I feel like somebody put his hands on me and just stabbed me. And it was just in like 2 seconds, but in those 2 seconds, it was like 10 minutes just thinking, I cannot let him down. I have to do this for him.
He touched so many people's lives through his wide circle of volunteerism and different connections, that just by being in his presence, he set an example for the rest of us.
Many times we said, not only did he teach us how to live, but he also taught us how to die, because of the grace and dignity that he showed all the way through the entire journey.
We were all like, why him, why him? And he was like, every time you'd ask him that, he's like, why not me? He has all these friends, a great family, close family. He's surrounded by everyone, and he has a perfect support system to get through it.
Denzel would want everyone to know that he considered his legacy not his interactions with foundations or nonprofits. He felt that his legacy was his grandchildren.
He was so proud of them, and they're such good people, and it's so amazing to see their loving side and their involvement, and he was just so proud of who they were and how they've been raised by us, and that to me just makes me so proud to know that we're raising our children with the same things that he and Mom did.
He wanted his grandchildren to fully understand and appreciate how through giving and service and true caring for other people and the human race, your lives could be so enriched.
I would ask him, do you ever have bad days? And he would say, no, I don't. He said, I have moments where, I feel bad about this or that, or maybe even a little bit for himself, but he never dwelled on them.
Despite how hard it was after his diagnosis, it brought everyone a lot closer and things, and so now I realize that hang out as much as you can, just be together as much as you can.
I think a lot of people still would go and visit Dad to bounce ideas off of him and to get his thoughts, just to have his blessing. And once you had his blessing, you felt like, okay, we're good to go.
And if there were important decisions to be made, you could count on Denzel for some really solid advice and counsel.
Dad was the one that you went to first, even over your husband sometimes, because he's just so rational and can see, all sides of the equation.
Well, I just hear him all the time, call me Bubba and Knucklehead, and when I do funny stuff, and I just always thinking about him and all the sayings he always had.
Denzel was an individual that really gave his heart and his time and his soul to projects that he undertook.
I always feel like whenever I go to Stir Museum, that Dad is there with us. We were just there for Halloween trick or treat, and it's just one of those where it's kind of calming when you go there because Dad had so much passion for Stir Museum and all the things that he was involved in there. It just, to me, that's one place I go and it's like Dad's right there with us.
He would take such personal ownership on the very different activities and events that would happen that he'd be out pulling weeds and making sure the grounds looked extra specially polished for those events. He took personal pride in ownership in making sure things would really come off in a positive way for Stir Museum.
He would never ask somebody to do something that he himself would not do. So, yeah, it wasn't about what he financially could do. It was more his knowledge and his time and what he could give.
He had a way of knowing if a nonprofit director might be struggling a little bit and placing a strategic phone call and offering his advice and wisdom and support.
His favorite part of working with those organizations was the connections. He loved being a connector and saying, this agency needs this, I know this person, and he'd get them together, and then that's when amazing things would happen.
I got a call from Denzel. It was at a time when it was becoming difficult for him. And he said, well, it's State Fair time again, and I just want you to know I'm remembering our fun times organizing volunteers, and that he'd had conversations with Cindy Johnson to learn how the volunteer programs had been carried on and grown even further. And he said, Lynn, I think that was one of the projects that I'm in which I feel the most pride.
For him, he's such a people person that I think that was probably the hardest thing for him was when he was more homebound. He didn't have that personal connection, but yet people were still coming to the house even when he could no longer talk. And for him, that was still a big hug for him that, even though you aren't out in the community is still here for you.
Yeah, I think about Denzel several times a week. I'm imagining Denzel in heaven now, kind of looking around to see what kind of improvements could be made. What could he be a part of?
Especially now that Ken Ganot's there. He's probably got some pretty big things going on.
I think he was energized by the challenges of community improvement and being part of projects that were part of the greater community.
The biggest benefit about a community foundation is the fact that you can support so many different needs and so many different causes in the community. The Community Foundation is really good about helping individuals or businesses, nonprofit groups connect with each other in the community. I think that's one of the things that the Community Foundation does best. When you go to the Community Foundation website, one of the first things you see is the tagline, "We help people who care connect with causes that matter." And I think that resonates with everyone, that if you can partner with the Community Foundation, they can help you get connected wherever your passion might lie.
I want him to be proud of me and I wouldn't be in the place I am right now, you know. Changed my life, and I wanted to give back.
I often think, how was I so lucky to get to call him my dad?
He was just this tall guy who has so much love.